Alhaitham is a great unit. He's an amazing DPS and I absolutely love the part when he spreads his... Anyways, everyone seems to tout him as a really good Dendro DPS, but is he actually? To answer that question, yes, he is actually a pretty good DPS, especially when we only really have one other Dendro DPS being Tighnari. And before you say anything, no, Nahida doesn't count until you get constellations, but we only consider like C0 around here. He's a pretty straightforward unit with a very simple mechanic that I think even a toddler could actually play him well. So Alhaitham is an on-field DPS whose damage mostly comes from his skill with the mirror mechanic. So he has this mechanic where he can gain these mirrors with his skill, his elemental burst, and his ascension 1. Whenever he has at least one mirror on him, his sword will be infused with Dendro and his skill will do Dendro damage at certain intervals on hitting enemies with his sword. The more mirrors he has, the more times his skill hits, which equates to the higher damage it will do. His elemental burst summons a field right in front of him which does AoE Dendro damage, where the number of times it hit will depend based on how many mirrors he has upon using it. The more mirrors he has, the more it will be consumed and the more hits it will do in total. It will also generate mirrors for him if he has less than 3 stacks. So the formula to decide how many mirrors you're going to get is 3 minus n, where n is basically the number of mirror he has. So if you have 0 mirrors, using the burst after 2 seconds, it will generate 3 mirrors, and then if it has 1 mirror, it'll consume 1 mirror, add like maybe an additional hit, and generate 2 mirrors afterwards, and then vice versa. You know, simple math, I'm sure you guys can figure this out. So generally, people actually use his burst as a way to instantly gain the 3 mirror stacks, so you can spend more time on field doing as much damage as you can with his elemental skill. So as a DPS, Alhaitham's damage is actually quite solid. Like, you can run him in Quicken teams or the good old Hyperbloom teams and he will do a good amount of damage regardless of what you do. In fact, he's so easy to play, it doesn't matter whether you play him or not with the most optimal combos or whether you just straight up mash buttons, because you're going to kill enemies regardless as long as you ensure that his mirror stays up. In terms of his Dendro application, he's also quite good in that department because his skill does hit a lot, especially when you have 3 mirrors, because the way the skill works is that the number of time it hits depends on how many mirrors you have. So if you have 1 mirror, it'll hit once, 2 mirrors twice, 3 mirrors 3 times. Now let us talk about comparisons. So realistically, the only other Dendro DPS in the game right now is Tighnari, and I feel like they both excel in their own way. So unlike Tighnari, Alhaitham does have quite a bit of AoE with his elemental skill, which I definitely would consider in an upside in a lot of situations where the enemies would be somewhat grouped up, so you can actually hit all those enemies at the same time. Aside from that, I feel like it's hard for me to do any comparisons because I feel like Dendro has too little variety for me to actually do that, and it wouldn't exactly be fair for me to compare him to the likes of Arlecchino or Neuvillette, since while they are on-field DPS, they belong to a different element and they have access to a different set of supports and buffers and reactions, so we can probably just leave it at that. But if you want me to look at something, let's look at his overall performance. Personally, I think Alhaitham is very much a solid 8 out of 10 DPS that you simply can't go wrong with him. Of course, the only issue with him is that you would need some form of defensive unit to actually help keep him alive, because he doesn't have any form of damage reduction, resistance to interruption, or any sort of self-healing to actually sustain his presence on field without dying. So for talent priorities, you generally want to prioritize level 90 over his elemental skill, over his normal attacks, and over his burst. The reason is because most of his damage actually comes from the spread reaction, which is applying Dendro onto a quicken aura, where the base damage of spread increases based on the character's level, so you would get a bigger damage increase by bringing him up to level 90 rather than spending any more into his elemental skill. And of course, after you're done with that, you can level up the talent for his elemental skill, and then the normal attack talent and the burst has about equal priority, so feel free to level up whichever you want, with things slightly leaning towards more normal attacks because you're going to be using that more compared to your elemental burst. So for his weapon options, most of his 5-star weapons are actually pretty good. The Lo-Fi, aka the Light or Folly Incision, is his best in slot with the high crit damage stat plus the flat damage bonus conversion from the character's elemental mastery. The 4% crit rate is also kinda nice. His second best weapon would be the Jade Cutter with the high crit rate base stat, the HP increase to work in tandem with the second passive to give like flat attack, while other 5-star swords like the Mistbitter, Haran, and Kazuha's weapon, the Freedom Sworn, are also great options for him. So for the 4-star weapons, you do have have quite a few options. His best right now would be the battle pass weapon, being the Wolf Fang, since it does actually buff the skill and burst damage with the passive, and it also increases the skill and burst crit rate based on how many hits it does. The other battle pass weapon, the Black Sword, is decent with the healing passive, although it mostly buffs the normal and charge attack for the character, which would probably make it fall slightly behind to Wolf Fang since most of your damage is going to come for your skill anyways. The Umbrella, aka the Tokabo Shigure, and also the craftable Iron Sting performs quite similarly to each other, with Tokabo being a little bit better for single target scenarios due to how good the passive is. Otherwise, we do have the Zypher's Moonlight and the Festering Desire to help with your ER requirements, with Zypher's potentially being better since it provides the entire team with energy recharge. Of course, we do have the good old 3-star Harbinger of Dawn. It's exceptionally great, and in the right team, this 3-star weapon can actually compete with some of Alhaitham's best weapon, but you do want to have a shielder or some sort of consistent healer to keep his health above 90% so that you can maintain the crit rate passive. And for the worst case, you can run Favonius for energy recharge and Sack Sword for the reset, but these are the worst case scenarios and they don't really offer any sort of offensive buffs. Now for the artifact sets, usually you would want to run an Elemental Mastery Sands over an attack percent, and then of course a Dendro Goblet, and then a crit circlet based on whichever one you need. Generally for stats, you want to prioritize having enough ER to burst or however you want, maybe like per rotation or every other rotation, over 200 Elemental Mastery, over crit, over getting more Elemental Mastery. So over on the Qingmein's guide for Alhaitham, here are the ER requirements. Of course, if you want the exact number, feel free to use the energy recharge or the Zakharov energy recharge calculator. I can't really talk too much about it because I rarely really use it. But if you want to burst every rotation, these are the requirements. Like you are running triple Dendro with Nahida, you need 100 to 130. Triple Dendro without Nahida, 30 to 160, and blah 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 blah. But let's say in a realistic situation, you'll probably be running double Electro, double Dendro with Nahida, so 100 to 130 would be fine, especially if you do run Official in your team. Otherwise, if you do want to burst every other rotation, your ER requirements are going to fall much lower. But Alhaitham is a unit where it's not necessary for you to burst every rotation, but it sure feels like the most familiar and the smoothest way to really play him, especially with whatever combos we're about to go with later. So for his artifact sets, the 4-piece Gilded Dreams is his best with all the elemental mastery buffs in order to buff his personal damage to Oblivion. Otherwise, you could also run a combination of 2-piece EM, 2-piece EM, or you could combine one of those with the 2-piece Deepwood for the Dendro damage bonus, which could actually be better than the 4 Gilded Dream set in certain teams. Otherwise, you could run the 4-piece Deepwood Memories if no one in your team is using it, but if someone is, you could go for all the other options. And lastly, if you're running a burst-oriented Hatham, you could run a combination of the 2-piece Emblem with the 2-piece EM or the 2-piece Deepwood to maximize the burst damage. For Alhaitham's combo, there is actually 2 different types that you can run with him. So we have 2 variants, with the first being the one where you have your burst and the ones without. So for the burst variants, there are actually 2 different types of combos. So what I'm about to show you is the first one being the longest mirror combo. So let me just run all the way here to make sure Mago Kenki doesn't do its thing. Alright. Hopefully I don't get hit there. Okay, I didn't get hit there. So we do our usual rotation. I'm showing using the good old, what do you call this team again? The good old... Okay, nearly dodged. Okay, use Kuki burst, Alhaitham burst. Wait for 2 seconds, swap to Kuki, and then swap back to Hatham. You should get the full thing. So do one full combo, and then do your skill, and then you should still have the 3 mirror stacks. Repeat another full N5 combo, and then once the mirror disappears, you'll just do another charge attack, and that's how you get a 3rd stack. And then you could probably do the same thing and rinse and repeat. So this is essentially the rotation with the longest combo. This is actually an okay combo. You could definitely make it like a little bit longer, but that really depends. So you burst, swap, and I should still get the ability back. Never mind, I screwed up. Alright, but you get the point. You get the point. So that is the first combo. So the one thing that you guys might have noticed is that after using Alhaitham's burst, I quickly swapped to Kuki to use her abilities, like whether it be a burst or a scale. For the first time when you swap to Kuki before Hatham, use her burst to, trigger a few Hyperblooms here and there. Then you swap to Hatham as the 4th unit, use Alhaitham's burst, go back to Kuki to use her skill, and then you go back to Hatham, and depending on how good your ping is, you might be able to make it just in time to actually still get all the abilities off and make sure your Alhaitham gains the Dendro infusion. So I'm just going to show you guys another repeat just to solidify that knowledge in case if I don't get hit. Yeah, we're just going to show another way. So let me do this. Xingqiu E into Q into E. Use Kuki burst, use Hatham burst. Quickly swap the Kuki skill and then swap back, and you should get the full combo. And 1, 2, hit. and then your skill again. That's one full combo. When Alhaitham does the final hit, and then I think it should be gone, but I got staggered a little bit, but it should be good enough to actually get the job done. So I can just kind of chill for a little bit, and then we should be able to get the last few kills by just doing this. And that's how you do the thing. There you go, he's dead. So the second burst combo is where we have the shorter one, which the rotation is about 12.5 seconds, so we can probably like just kind of try this out. I actually haven't really tried this combo. It's a slight change, so it's not really that massive. Alright, start this, run all the way around, double dash. Okay, mostly dodge all the abilities, that's good. So let me do a simple Nahida burst, get all of them grouped up. Do this, and then get all the abilities done. And use the infusion almost immediately, just keep normal attacking. And then just maybe do almost into a full combo and then do a charge attack if I can get the abilities up. Yeah, that's the one downside is that if you don't use something like Baiju, you're definitely gonna lose quite a bit of stagger. That's probably the biggest issue I would say right now. And then they're all mostly dead, so I can just do a double E here. And then the rest is just up to Alhaitham to do that. Oh, this is one of the other combos I'll show you guys later. Okay, so that's the two burst combo. Now I'm going to be showcasing the burstless combo, which you actually saw a little bit of the demonstration just now. So I'm gonna dash all the way here. Not get slashed by... Okay, I got hit by the master. That's not exactly fair, but sure. Right. So we're gonna do this. It's fine. Okay, let's do this. Into that. So what you want to do is hold E and then you do a plunge attack and then you just keep attacking. It's basically the same thing, and then you lose one stack after one normal attack. You do another charge attack to get another stack. I mean, you just keep doing until most of your abilities are done. It's a little bit of a... It has a bit of a shorter uptime, but... It definitely has a little bit of a shorter uptime, but it works. So you just hold into a plunging attack and you should get all 3 stacks. The mirror uptime is definitely much lower because you don't have the burst, but it should be fine as long as you're able to get it done. And as you can see there, my abilities for my Xingqiu and my Kuki actually lasted long enough for Alhaitham's like mirror to still be there. That was close. Okay, we're gonna do that again. See if we can get all of them really close hugged up. Cryo guy is doing his thing. Hopefully I don't get frozen. Never mind, I am. So we'll just do that. And then hold skill, and then do a simple plunging attack, and then just keep attacking again and again. You can't exactly do a simple... You can't exactly gain stacks from the charge attack passive simply because it's... well, you know, it's on a cooldown from how you got the 3 mirror for the very beginning of the rotation. But yeah, and then just do this. Repeat again. Should get enough for burst. Do that. Then you hold skill, and then you will always do a plunging attack because I think Alhaitham's skill, if you were to hold it, apparently according to the Ching mains, you will always do a plunging attack. And I think this rotation is also quite smooth. It doesn't rely too much on you having the burst, and you're still able to do quite a good amount of damage even without your elemental burst. So yeah, it doesn't matter whether you just tap E into a charge attack or you hold E into a plunge. I'll just show you guys the charge attack version. It's not really that much different. It's just like instead of like plunging. Okay, nearly died. Let me swap to Xingqiu so I can just bunny hop away from my problems. Okay, do that. So I do that. So basically I do skill, do this into a charge attack, and then I should get 3 stacks. And then just rinse and repeat until all your abilities are done. So Xingqiu's ability should last for a while, but Kuki's ability should be gone right about now. Okay, do that. Nearly died, but it's fine. Actually hope I don't die from the bloom actually. So do a charge attack. Okay, that might be all dead. But yeah, basically that's how you do the combos. So one tip I can share for all potential Alhaitham players is that you can afford to stay on field a little bit longer with his mirrors if you want to generate some energy to get his burst back. So yeah, that's it for the combos, and we move on to the next section. So for Alhaitham's teams, honestly, he just works in whatever Dendro teams that you can run. Like you can run regular Quicken team to maximize his spread damage and slot in some supports plus some off-field Electro DPS. You could also run the default Hyperbloom team with Nahida, Xingqiu Kuki simply because it just works, so no questions asked. If you do want to run the same team but you want to see him do a bit more damage, just replace Xingqiu with a Hydro unit that doesn't apply as much Hydro, and some examples would include C0 Yelan, Kokomi, a C6 Candice, and a Furina maybe running together with a healer. Otherwise, you do have the Burgeon team with Thoma because Thoma's really the only unit in the game that can run Burgeon, although it is slightly tricky to run because you're going to run the risk of triggering burning, which means you will somehow lose out on bloom seeds depending on how you play. Plus, you still would need a defensive option to keep him alive from the Burgeon self-damage. And lastly, we have the Nilo Bloom team. So obviously, in order to run this team, you would need a Nilo in your account and a defensive unit to keep Alhaitham alive, such as Kokomi, Yao Yao, or Barbara. And now we are reaching the end of this video. Depending on how well my luck is, I might consider swiping to get a chance of getting him next patch, but we will just have to see. Since he does actually look quite good with his rock hard apps, and his Japanese voice actor like sounds borderline ASMR. Like, just listen to this.
俺は教令員の書記官アルハイセンだ。資料を閲覧したいのなら規定の書式にのっとって申請書を記入してくれ。何？まだ整理し終わっていない？
Also, the sound effect for his skill every time it hits is so freaking satisfying. Every time I do get a chance to play him in trial, in any story, or in my viewer's account, it just sounds so good. So, what do you guys think of Alhaitham? Are you guys planning to pull him next patch? Or are you going to be a Cloran enjoyer? Or maybe you enjoy cute things and you want to pull for Siegewin? Or maybe you're saving for a potential interesting unit in 4.8? Or maybe you're saving up for Natlan Stonks? Anyways, let me know whether you guys are pulling for him in the comment section down below. And if not, also just let me know. And as usual, do the usual interact stuff. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more content, and I hope you guys will enjoy the showcase you're about to see. Anyways, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
きがたしこの剣はわかる渚の凛
理論の演劇もらったここか
しっかり立ってな
痛くしちゃうか
雨描きがたし
これこそが知恵の伝道行きましょう
おとなしくしな
深海のカゴ
三段
渚の凛
覚えたわ私のお家にいらっしゃい手強いです
邪魔をするな
海のちぎりよ
頑張れ
変更いや
はびこりなさい手をつなぎましょうはっソーランド行こう
渚の凛
これこそが知恵の伝道はっ深海のカゴ
オラチ誰だここかいいだろ
頑張れ
ご助力を
三段強戦誰だいいだろ
動かないでね
そう俺が守るよ
変更
炎の盾助立ち参上
ゆえぐえ
計画が変わったこの剣わかるかい歌よ日常